Welcome back. Well, the International Monetary Fund on Tuesday downgraded its forecast for global economic growth in 2016 and 2017, citing the increased uncertainty caused by Britain's exit from the European Union. Our growth projections were revised down substantially in Sub-Saharan Africa, reflecting challenging macroeconomic conditions in its largest economies, which are adjusting to lower commodity revenues. A development economist, Joe Femi Dagunro, joins me now to look at these issues. Good afternoon, Mr. Dagunro.
Good afternoon, good to see you.
Now, what do you make of IMF's growth review for Sub-Saharan Africa?
Well, basically, I think let's pick it up from Nigeria. For a while, I think most economists and most analysts, they've predicted, they've had this forecast, and it's something that is, we knew that it was going to come this far, but the thing generally in Africa, we have a lot of troubles. Right now, you have virtually in all the corners of Africa, you have this terrorism thing going on, it's a war itself, and it's destabilizing the region completely, and you have the problem of infrastructure development, and most budgets, most growth are not really coming as expected. So we know, people we expected that definitely there will be a contraction, and in some area there might be recessions as well.
Oh, well, you did mention Nigeria. Of course, we have Nigeria and South Africa being the largest economies. And, of course, IMF talked about the fact that these largest economies are actually the cause that has affected what is happening in the other regions of Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, let's look at specifically Nigeria. Growth projection, 1.8%. And, of course, for South Africa has been made to be flat. And just recently, I think this week, South Africa actually downgraded its forecast. Okay, so what do you make of all of this?
I think most of the problem we're going through is structurally induced problems. For a long time, good enough, the CBN governor came out and said, look, Nigeria, we have a problem right now, that the federal government might not even be able to pay at certain points before the end of the year. They might not even be able to pay workers' salary. So that tells you that there's a problem that has been on for a long time, not just a recent problem. Now, if you look at it, the oil growth, the growth in our foreign currency has been depleted for a long time. And then we know that this foreign exchange rate, the flexibility of our monetary policy has to be, adjusted for a long time. But it took us a long time, more than 6 months before we could come to the realization that, look, let's adjust this these monetary policies. Now, the fiscal policies, we are still battling with that. The structural, the infrastructural development is what is possibly at standstill. And those are the things that would definitely affect our economy, and it's affecting it right now. So you won't be surprised that, apart from the fact that most analysts will have said, look, this foreign exchange issue has been made to be flexible, and it's a matter of demand and supply. But we know that Nigeria, the demand is more than the supply, and there will always be an issue on that. So now look at it, the manufacturing sector is crumbling, and even the services sector. So nobody really knows right now where we're going, but the problem is at hand, and one will expect that the infrastructural development is where we should concentrate. The major aspect of it, if you look at the energy sector, for a long time people have been saying, listen, let's have a mixed energy, let's have solar, let's have this wind energy, let's have all this thing. But it seems we are just talking and nobody is really acting. And now if you want to do it, you're not talking, let us use uranium to begin to develop our energy. Why don't we use what is something that we can really cope with right now? So these problems are just a kind of structural induced, and we need to concentrate on the infrastructural development. Otherwise, there's no end in sight. And then another thing that people want to see is this. If we are saying we are having these fiscal policies and we want to continue to adjust, the people, the generality of the people, they want to see, even the lawmakers who are clamoring to say, look, we are reviewing, we're having interviews, we're having closed-door meetings. They should be able to say, look, let's start from us. Cut your expenses. We have to begin to look at what we can cut out of all this exorbitant lifestyle. Most of our lawmakers are living. Let's begin to cut certain, lifestyle. Let's begin to cut some expenses, and people will begin to see that if the governors can do that, if the ministers can do that, if the House of Assembly, all these government apparatus, if they begin to cut down on expenses, I think people will begin to say, okay, let's bear with the government. But right now, it seems, we're just talking and no action is being made, and that is what is infuriating, and that's what is annoying to people generally.
Now, let's speak specifically to the regional economies like Kenya in East Africa, we have Ghana, and Ivory Coast in West Africa, and even Botswana.
You know, Ivory Coast, most of these, they are not really dependent on oil. You know, they have the commodities, you have the cocoa, you have, you know, other things. Even in Kenya, they export flowers. You know, so there are a lot of things that, you know, they are more into the commodity sector more than, you know, these other things that apart from the oil now. They are used to that. They are developing that rapidly. And now you begin to see Kenya economy is because of all this Al-Shabaab. I told you earlier that, look, we have the regional problems about terrorism. So when the Al-Shabaab, when you have the South Sudan issue coming up, you know, reactivating itself again in a bad move. So all these economies, except if you look at Botswana, Botswana has been consistent for a long time. You know, it's the leadership. The leadership in Botswana has taken it right from day one. And look at what is coming up in Tanzania. Tanzanian government said, listen, we are going to cut down expenses. And they have cut down seriously, and it's from the leadership. So a lot of things are going to be based on the leadership. Ghana has cut down because you see a lot of things are coming up so well there. And then unfortunately, sometimes when Ghana has their energy problem, they blame it on Nigeria. Say, oh, because Nigeria is having a problem with this, that is why we are having a problem. But generally, African problem will remain for a long time unless we begin to have a leadership. You know, you just have to be with the leadership. And that's why I said about Tanzania, when the leadership begin to take this thing seriously, to say, listen, it's from us. Let's begin from us, and let's begin from our own level. Then people will be able to see what is going on.
Now, just a quick one from North Africa. Recent report shows that Egypt is gradually, you know, outpacing South Africa as number 2. Is the largest economy, and perhaps may likely outpace Nigeria. Do you see this coming to reality?
Yes, because the monetary policy, the Egyptians, they have come to a level that whereby they said, even if you go against this monetary policy, you'll be jailed. If the bankers have to say, look, if they said they peg their currency to a certain amount of dollar, and you now say you go against it, if you are caught, you'll be jailed for that. I mean, they are very systematic, and they are following up seriously. And don't forget, even in Egypt, the manufacture and the export, this double-decker buses is being manufactured in Egypt, and they are sending it to London as well. So export, apart from the fact that they have developed so well in tourism, and we can see what is going on right now there, they are suffering that. But at the same time, their export and their manufacturing sector is being developed to be able to export some of those things outside Egypt. And I think that's one of the things we have to, you know, recommend to our leaders here to begin to look into. Let there be rules, and let there be a follow-up on that rules as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Dagunro.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Right, that was Joe Femi Dagunro. He is a development economist. Well, let's look straight to what's happening at the Forex market now. I'm being joined by a Forex dealer at UBA Group, Chuka Nwachukwu. Good afternoon, Chuka.
Good afternoon.
Now, the Naira has been trading bearish. Yesterday, it closed at 292, 295. Why are we seeing this bearish trend, irrespective of various CBN's intervention?
Thank you very much. Naira has been trading bearish. You know, it's as a result of supply in the system, and that's why we have the bearish trend at the moment.
So what are we likely going to see the Naira trade end today? Is it going to depreciate further?
Yeah, today is been generally been trading at 290 levels. We expect that the bearish sentiment will continue at least for the next few days or so.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Chuka. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll look at the activities at the fixed income markets. Do stay with us.